Welcome back to MVM. I'm here today to bring you a preview of a new game called Complexcity from Big Kid Games. This is a tile placement city building game for 2 to 4 players where you are taking on the role of a city planner in a far future sci-fi world where a solar system is about to be destroyed and the 4 races that make their home there need to inhabit a new planet. The players at the table are taking on the role of planners, planning out the perfect city in front of them, and at the end of the game, whoever has built the best city is going to be crowned the winner, and they're going to use that blueprint to kind of inhabit this new city. So if you take a look out here, you're going to see the game already set up, and I'm going to talk through that briefly, but I will say that this is a Kickstarter prototype, so all of these components are not final, but you are going to have these minis in the game that look a lot like they do here on the table. So you're going to notice a few things. First of all, everyone is going to start the game with a cityplex tile. Now these tiles are all the same, so everyone kind of starts off in the same place, and you're going to make this the first tile of your city, and you'll notice a bunch of spaces around the edges where you'll be able to grow this city plan out. In addition, at the start of the game, everyone is going to be handed 9 city tiles, and these are dealt out randomly. Each one of these city tiles is going to have a different arrangement of colored buildings and transportation lines. And the goal of the game is kind of to connect these transportation lines, which I'll talk about in a second. So you'll take these and you'll put them face down and draw 1 to be your starting hand. At that point, you're ready to start the game. In addition, you're going to separate out all of the different minis into their piles, as well as the different resources that correspond with these colored races. The next thing you'll do is choose your ambassador cards for the game. Now, you're going to always have 5 ambassador tokens, 1 from each of the 4 different races, and then 1 that kind of is a overall scoring card. You're going to have a bunch of these cards that come with the game. I mean, you're looking at several different options per race, and these are going to be scored in different ways during the scoring phases of the game, but you're going to shuffle these all together by color, and you're going to randomly pick 5 of them. So every game is going to have different scoring objectives, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the scoring phase. Next thing you're going to do is set out the 4 different unique complex tiles, and then the district cards. And these cards here are important because there is kind of a area control aspect to these cards that we'll talk about again during the scoring phase. So once everything is separated and everything is set out, you're going to randomly choose a starting player of the game, and they'll get to play. Now, playing this game is very simple. You're going to have 1 tile, and you're either going to play that tile into your city, or you're going to discard it to take a bonus action. But most of the time, you're going to be playing it in your city. The goal of the game is to play these tiles to create complexes. Now, when I play this tile, there are a few rules you have to keep in mind. For one, it has to be orthogonally adjacent to tiles you've already played. And secondly, these transportation tracks have to line up. So I could place this anywhere that it would match up with these transportation tracks. So you see here, I've created a line. Now, the goal of this game is to enclose spaces by these transportation tracks to create little areas. And if these areas are big enough, you're going to be able to place complexes in them. So in a future turn, I could come here and place another tile. And now you'll notice that I have completed a section here. As long as there are at least 4 buildings created in that section, you're going to get a complex. If you have 8 buildings, you're going to get 2, and so on and so forth. So basically 1 complex for every 4 buildings you have. In this instance, I have created a zone of blue and green buildings. So I get to choose to place a blue or a green complex. Now, this decision matters because every time you place a complex, you're going to get the resources linked to that race that you've placed there. So for example, here, my best interest would be to play a blue complex. I'll take one of these blue complexes, place it in the center, and then I will take 3 of these blue resources because I had 3 buildings in that complex. These resources are going to sit in front of you, and you're going to use them on your turn. Each one of these races has a different unique ability, and you're going to want to spend these resources to use those abilities. You can use each ability once per turn. The game features a handy player aid here that's going to show you what you can do with all of these different resources. For example, I can take 2 of these blue resources, turn them in on my turn to take any one of these district cards. These district cards are important because they're going to be used for scoring at the end of the round. There's just different colored cards that correspond to the different colored buildings, and you're going to have them come out randomly. Every time you take one, you're going to replenish with a new one, and these district cards are just going to sit in front of you. If you have the red tokens, you can actually turn in 3 red tokens to take a building off of your complex, return it to the supply, and place a different building instead. Now, you don't get the resources again for triggering that, but this can become important for some of the scoring conditions and for some of the different district cards you'll have here in the scoring phase. The last thing you could do is turn in 4 of these green resources to place a special complex tile. These 4 special complex tiles here use gray buildings, so you don't get any color bonuses here, but they do have some interesting shapes, including straight lines and curves that will allow you to build bigger districts. If you do complete a district with one, for example, if I had placed this here instead, I still have 4 buildings, I still get a complex, but my only option here is blue. This gray colored building does not count for me. The only special token is the growth token, which is yellow. Now, collecting these growth tokens is how you're going to win the game. So playing those yellow buildings don't necessarily give you an ability, but they do give you victory points. Every time you close off a yellow complex and get these victory point growth tokens. When I take these, I have 2 options. I can either put them in my victory point pool off to the side and use them to score at the end of the game, or I can place them on one of these 5 ambassador cards. And you could do that in any amount you want. For example, I could put 2 on an ambassador and I could keep the rest over here to score me victory points at the end of the game. The reason why you want to place them on these ambassador cards is because you're deciding which of these cards are going to score that round. You'll notice there's only 5, there's only 3 rounds, so you're not going to score all of these. So voting with your growth tokens is important. If you have growth tokens off to the side, you can spend 1 per turn and take it and place it on one of these ambassador cards. However, your best bet is to place them as you take those buildings. At the end of your turn, once you've placed your tile, you're going to draw up a new tile. And I said earlier, another option is to discard a tile to take a special action. You can only take each one of these bonus actions 1 time. However, I can choose to discard my tile back to the box and take one of these actions a second time, provided that I have the resources to pay for it. So I could put out 2 of those special tiles, or I could switch out 2 of my buildings or draw 2 district cards. However you want to do that, because at the end of the round, you're going to enter a scoring phase. And the round ends after everybody has placed all 9 of their tiles into their city. You go to draw your last tile, you don't have one, that triggers the end of the round. And then you're going to score. You're going to look at these ambassador cards, and you're going to figure out which one has the most votes. For this example here, it would be this blue ambassador here. So you're going to score. And these are going to score a variety of different things. For example, this one just scores for the number of blue complexes you have. Whoever has the most is going to get points. And these points are going to escalate through the rounds. It starts off with 4 points, then 5 points, and then 6 points for the winner by the last round. And if you tie, everybody gets 2 of those growth tokens instead. But once you score one of these, it flips over and is no longer eligible to be scored again. Some of these other ambassador cards are going to score for the longest chain of connected complexes of any color. They're going to score you for sets of different colors. They're going to score you for having just the most variety of buildings. So there are a lot of these, like I said at the beginning, and you're only going to be playing with these 5. So you can look at the beginning of the game and you can see every possible option for scoring and try to build your strategy around that. Now, again, if you don't vote with your growth tokens, the one that you're building towards might never trigger. So you need to make sure to manipulate these in order to score the most points. After you've scored the ambassador card, you're going to look at these district cards that you've managed to collect throughout the game. These never go away, so they just keep increasing with your supply, but you're going to go through each color and see who has the most of these. For example, whoever has the most blue is going to get to score their blue complexes. 1 point for every complex in their city. Whoever has the most green cards is going to do the same thing. If you're tied, you both score. So if you look around the table and notice, for example, I have the most of these blue cards, I want to build more blue complexes because I want to score. And you're going to score this again in the second round and the third round. So you're going to score points for all those ways, and then you're going to reset the board for the next round. You will have had no tiles left, so you're going to draw back 7 more tiles, draw your first tile, and then continue playing. And the gameplay is going to continue like that around the table in a clockwise fashion. Everyone plays their tiles, takes their resources, uses their bonus actions, and moves around. At the end of the game, you want to have the most of these growth tokens. So you're going to want to be kind of hoarding these by building those yellow buildings, but you also want to build the other colored buildings because their abilities are very powerful. So you're going to have to make a lot of decisions about when to place, where to place, and how to spend these resources during this game. So that is Complexcity from Big Kid Games. It is available on Kickstarter right now. So if you have any questions or comments, concerns, please leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. As always, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow everything we do at MVM, and I will see you next time.